Have you ever discovered an unexpected visitor in your garden and wondered how to ensure your green oasis remains peaceful for both you and them? Welcome to our journey into the heart of nature, right in your backyard. Today, we delve into the fascinating world of garden wildlife. We'll explore the bustling biodiversity that visits our gardens, from the tiniest insects to the most elusive nocturnal creatures. We'll learn to appreciate the role each visitor plays in maintaining a balanced ecosystem. Beyond that, we'll understand how to coexist harmoniously, ensuring our garden remains a haven for us and a refuge for them. We'll share practical tips, do's and don'ts, and even some DIY solutions to make your garden a wildlife-friendly space. And to inspire you, we'll hear real-life success stories from fellow gardeners who found a balance with their local wildlife. Stay with us as we explore how to coexist with wildlife in your garden without causing them harm. Let's start by getting to know our garden visitors a little better. Each one plays a unique role in the ecosystem, and understanding their behavior can help us coexist peacefully. First, we have the birds. Birds are nature's alarm clock, often greeting us with their morning songs. They control pests by feeding on insects, make our gardens vibrant with their colorful feathers, and even help in pollination. Then come the squirrels. These agile creatures are known for their acrobatic skills and high energy. They're natural gardeners themselves, often forgetting where they buried their food, resulting in new trees sprouting in surprising places. Rabbits with their fuzzy tails and long ears are not just adorable, but they also play a crucial role in the food chain. They feed on plants and in turn become food for other animals. While they may nibble on your veggies, they're an integral part of the circle of life. Insects too are an essential part of our gardens. Bees and butterflies are the champions of pollination, while ladybugs and spiders keep the population of harmful insects in check. Frogs are another common visitor, especially if you have a pond. They help maintain the insect population and serve as a food source for larger species. Even the humble earthworm plays a vital role. They are the garden's natural tillers and compost makers, turning soil and decomposing organic material into nutrient-rich humus. Finally, we have the occasional nighttime visitors like hedgehogs and foxes. These nocturnal creatures are a sign of a healthy ecosystem and are generally harmless if left undisturbed. So next time you spot one of these creatures, remember they're not intruders, but part of the garden's harmonious ecosystem, each contributing in their unique way. Now that we know who we're sharing our gardens with, let's talk about what we should and shouldn't do. Interacting with garden wildlife can be a balancing act. Here are some tips to get it right. Let's dive into the do's first. Do provide clean water sources. A simple bird bath or shallow dish can be a lifesaver for small creatures, especially during dry spells. Do plant native species. These plants are a buffet for local wildlife, from nectar for butterflies to seeds for birds. Do create safe spaces. This could be as simple as leaving a pile of leaves for hedgehogs or installing bird boxes for our feathered friends. Do watch from a distance. Wildlife is best appreciated without interruption. Let's not forget our gardens are their homes too. Now, on to the don'ts. Don't use harmful repellents. These can be dangerous to wildlife and even your pets. Opt for humane deterrents instead. Don't feed wildlife inappropriate foods. As tempting as it may be, bread for birds or milk for hedgehogs can do more harm than good. Don't forget about nighttime visitors. Your garden is a 24-hour haven. Be mindful of nocturnal creatures such as bats and hedgehogs by limiting light pollution. And then there are the gray areas. Feeding wildlife, for instance. While it's okay to supplement their diet, be cautious not to make them dependent. They need to retain their wild instincts for survival. Similarly, while it's great to create habitat features like ponds, ensure they are safe. A steep-sided pond, for instance, can be a death trap for a hedgehog. Remember, the aim is to coexist, appreciating the beauty and benefits that garden wildlife brings. It's about making our green spaces as inviting to a hedgehog, a butterfly, or a bird as it is to us. Armed with these do's and don'ts, you're well on your way to a wildlife-friendly garden, but let's take it a step further. Creating a welcoming space for wildlife doesn't have to be complicated. Here are some DIY ideas. First, it's all about the habitat. A pile of logs in a shady corner can become a perfect shelter for insects, amphibians, and small mammals. The same goes for a pile of leaves or a compost heap. These simple additions are like a 5-star hotel for garden critters. Next, consider building a birdhouse or a bat box. These little sanctuaries provide a safe place for birds and bats to rest and nest. Remember, different species prefer different types of houses. So, do a little research to see what your local wildlife prefers. Now let's talk about food. Planting native species is a fantastic way to provide a natural source of nourishment for your garden visitors. Native plants attract a variety of insects, which in turn attract birds and other predators. It's a wonderful way to support your local ecosystem. Water is another essential element. A bird bath or a small pond can be a lifesaver for wildlife, especially during dry spells. Just make sure to keep the water clean and fresh, and let's not forget about bees and butterflies. A simple homemade bee hotel or butterfly feeder can make your garden a paradise for these important pollinators. For those with a green thumb, why not create a wildflower meadow? Even a small patch can provide a buffet of nectar for insects and seeds for birds. Plus, it's a stunning sight when in bloom. Finally, if you're dealing with unwanted visitors, consider humane deterrents. These can include scent markers, noisemakers, or even a scarecrow. Remember, the goal is to coexist, not to harm. These simple steps can make a big difference in your garden, but don't just take our word for it. Meet some gardeners who have successfully balanced their love for gardening with their respect for wildlife. First, let's head over to the heart of Kansas, where we find Emily, a seasoned gardener with a green thumb and an even greener heart. Emily shares her garden with a family of rabbits that have made a home under her shed. She has planted a patch of clover just for them, demonstrating that sharing space can be mutually beneficial. Now, let's travel to sunny California, where Tom, an urban gardener, has created a haven for hummingbirds. Tom has strategically planted native flowering plants that attract these winged wonders. He says, "Watching these little guys zip around is a joy that never gets old." Over in the bustling city of New York, we find Lisa, a rooftop gardener. Despite her garden being several stories high, Lisa has successfully attracted a variety of birds with her bird-friendly plants and birdhouses. She says, "It's like having my very own piece of nature amidst the concrete jungle." Heading south, in Texas, we meet John, who shares his garden with a family of armadillos. Rather than seeing them as pests, John has learned to coexist with these nocturnal foragers. He says, "It's all about understanding and respecting their habits." Crossing the Atlantic, we reach the quaint English countryside where we find Rose, a retiree who has turned her garden into a sanctuary for hedgehogs. By creating small hedgehog highways in her fences and providing them with shelter, Rose has done her bit in protecting these charming creatures. Lastly, we visit the vibrant city of Sydney, Australia, where Jack has turned his backyard into a paradise for local wildlife, from possums to parakeets. Jack claims, "It's the best decision I've made. My garden is now a symphony of sounds and sights." From city rooftops to sprawling country gardens, these gardeners have shown how understanding, patience, and a bit of creativity can turn any garden into a thriving habitat. Their experiences highlight the joy of coexisting with wildlife and the satisfaction of contributing to biodiversity. These stories show that creating a wildlife-friendly garden is a rewarding experience. So, we've learned quite a bit about living in harmony with the wildlife in our gardens. We've discovered how to identify our garden visitors and understand their roles in our ecosystem. We've explored the do's and don'ts, realizing the importance of providing water sources and avoiding harmful repellents. We've seen the power of DIY solutions, creating shelters and planting native species to encourage a wildlife-friendly environment. And we've heard inspiring real-life success stories from fellow gardeners who've managed to create a harmonious space for both them and the local wildlife. It's a fascinating journey, isn't it? To see our gardens not just as a space for plants, but as a thriving ecosystem where we play a crucial part. I encourage you all to implement these strategies, make a difference in your own gardens. Remember, every effort counts when it comes to preserving our local wildlife and biodiversity. Let's make our gardens a safe haven for them.